And now, another exciting episode in the adventures of Outdoor Journal Radio.
Well, hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us once again. I'm Angelo Vile. He is Peter Bowman. Our usual lineup of suspects, Vova, Nick, and Dean, sitting behind the scenes.
Come on now.
Yeah, well, Dean's
they're there nonetheless.
Dean's not really behind the scenes
No,
anymore.
Dean's
He's kind
not
of up front.
Yeah.
He's got his own camera. We have to split a camera.
True. Good
He's
point.
moved up, but
Good point.
he's
Two cameras.
He's got two cameras. We got one. Well, we got one that's made into two or three, so we got a 3-camera shoot here. But
Great program today, by
Thank
the way.
you.
Aside from you being here with me, you weren't here on the last one, I don't think, huh? No.
was that the last one?
Yeah,
Yeah, no, the
last
last one was our Tomogamy, wasn't it?
Oh,
On the
from
road
the road
again.
again.
On the road again. But
Last one here.
yeah,
At headquarters.
Probably not. Maybe not. Yeah, I missed one. I know that.
HQ.
HQ.
Podcast. HQ.
ODJ HQ.
So welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Were you having a good time? Were you frolicking in the sun?
I'm assuming I was.
You're not quite sure?
I'm not quite sure. I might have blanked out that day. You never know. I might have had the odd blank out day in my
Oh, you had
time.
the odd
Yeah.
one, all right. No doubt about it. Great program. Joining us later on, our special guest today, we met, I'd met him pre-pandemic when this stuff was just coming to the marketplace in the U.S. His name is Mike Wisecarver.
Come on
and
now.
He's got a company called WeCam and a product that's called Booyah Clean.
I'm very interested to hear
just
about this.
taking the U.S. by a storm. It is the first EPA certified chemical that, I know it's going to be hard to believe, that can be direct released into the environment. That means oceans, lakes, rivers, and streams.
Yep.
You can, this is a boat cleaner, by the way, a boat and auto cleaner that you can actually legally pour, I don't know why anybody would want to, but pour
Yeah.
into the environment, and it would be perfectly fine, perfectly safe, no mass destruction, none of the above.
You wouldn't want to, but it's
No.
nice to know that you can do that. If it's spilt, if you knocked it over, if you did, you know what I mean?
So we thought it'd be cool to bring him on the show because we don't have anything like that in Canada, nor do we really have any provisions in place, which we'll find out when
don't even
Mike comes
think
on.
about that in Canada.
No,
really,
we don't.
hey, I buy this boat cleaner. This is great.
This-
Look at it. Just took all that shit right off the boat, and it's
Exactly.
beautiful. It's wonderful. But you don't think about the other stuff.
We soon will. Now
Yeah.
that they've initiated south of the border,
Yeah.
I'm sure that it'll.
good on
So we
them.
thought it'd be great to bring them on and talk about it. We also want to welcome a couple of new partners to the program. Yeah,
Woohoo!
First Sale, the Outdoors, wonderful retailer, Canadian retailer. Of outdoor goods that we were involved with the very first day that they came into Ontario. Right?
Correct.
In fact, the very first exposure we had with them, was it not in a store in Quebec? Ottawa.
No, Ottawa.
Ottawa.
We did
That's
our
it.
first one in Ottawa.
Yeah, that's right.
correct.
But they were all over the Fishing Canada show for years, and we want to welcome them back to the podcast network.
Come on now.
And Dean, am I right? They're going to be a network advertiser?
No.
No.
That's
all
not
right.
right.
I'm wrong about that. All
Yeah.
right. All right.
As long as they're back.
as long
in
as they're
some
back.
kind of
So they're-
capacity. Thank you, Sale, for coming back. We don't know where you are, but that's
What
good.
exactly are
Thank
they
you.
going to be doing with us, Dean? Seeing I don't know anything about this.
They're a full title sponsor of our podcast. So if you
Of the Outdoor Journal Radio podcast.
Yep. So if you see the artwork, the logos there, they'll be featured on every episode. So
Beautiful.
they're everywhere.
Wonderful. And I can vouch for them in terms of wonderful environment when you go to one of their stores.
Oh. It's
Now
more, yeah.
they've taken that same approach to their e-commerce, and you can buy products over. I know it's me even saying this, probably thinking, oh, it's kind of late. We've all been doing that for years. But no, I'm just saying. that
Yeah,
their-
check it
their
out.
web presence is fantastic as well.
They got an array of product, and they got a good little clearance section. If you look up there in one of the titles, clearance, you get some stuff 50% off, stuff like that. So it's a great place to shop.
Welcome Sale. And the other partner that we'd like to welcome to the show, although we've, I think, talked about this in a couple of previous episodes, is fishfindermounts.com.
Give me a hell yeah!
Yes, sir, Stevie.
Did we say something that upset Nick? I see he left while I was in the middle of that.
What was that
comment.
thing your dad used to say?
Oh, ganu brinjuba.
What?
Ugano green chip.
Okay,
Yeah, that's
can
Nick.
you-
Nick is a Ugano green chip.
Can you want to explain that before we get into this? Or
Well, let me finish with fishfindermounts.com.
I like these guys, by the way. They make a great product and they're good to deal with. So go ahead.
That's it. They're a great way. They sell shoes, underwear. What do they sell?
They sell fishfindermounts.com.
Oh, that's why they're called fishfindermounts.com.
And the best part about our relationship, Angelo's, mine, and Fishing Canada in general, Dean, even Volva, because Volva uses one of their mounts too, is that they listen to us. We went in with some ideas. Boys, whoosh, they built it up. They went in the machine shop, built this stuff up in no time, sent it back. Let us know what you think. That's the kind of company we're dealing with.
That's refreshing.
I like that.
That's refreshing. But more importantly, they have got the products that we now need as we're using all of this wonderful technology
They're spoiling
available to us.
They really are spoiling us when you think about how easy it is to work.
It is funny because you would think and let's talk specifics here. You know, companies like Garmin that spend a gazillion dollars in R&D when they're coming up with all this new wonderful products that we use, that we're enjoying, that help us in our day-to-day fish catching activities. But they don't think sometimes of, okay, well, how is an angler going to effectively use this wonderful product of ours? Do you know what I mean?
I don't know about that.
I'm just saying.
They got her down pretty good.
I know, but I'm just saying the folks at fishfindermounts.com have kind of taken that next step.
Correct.
And
Correct.
They are now
They're finding alternative ways of using it that are very effective ways as well. So.
Anyways, where were we before?
Well, you were just introducing a couple of new partners for us. So, and they are, I'm assuming, a Outdoor Journal radio podcast.
Ask Dean, because
I'm
I don't
looking at
know
my
hell.
Dean right now.
They're just on this show. We do have we have a network announcement coming up, but no announcements on this episode.
Okay.
All right. So those are
Don't
the
say a
two
word.
latest.
Don't say a word. In other words,
Nothing.
Dean's saying
Nothing.
not.
Those are the two latest partners on this show.
Awesome.
Let's put it that way.
Awesome.
All right. Shop.fishingcanada.com.
Yeah, you got it. Usually you don't say that
I
website
know.
as a rule. Good man.
Because I don't like people doing that. I want them to go to fishingcanada.com, and then once you're there, push the shop button.
Oh, I got you.
The shop.
I see. So you're trying to do the non-direct route. You're doing an alternate route.
Because, you know, I think
it's like on Google Maps. And one is a direct route, and then you add another 10 minutes to that one. But that 10 minutes can be productive. You can see new scenery. You can do whatever.
Exactly.
Right?
I did that yesterday.
Did you?
I did something yesterday that is exactly what you're talking about.
See,
I went.
I know you.
You know how often I go golfing?
Yes.
Like once every 5 years, only if I have to. Well, yesterday I went golfing, and I could have taken a very direct route.
Yes.
Would have taken me, I don't know, 7 minutes to get there. Very
Nice.
direct.
Nice little drive.
But no, I didn't do that. I went through the back way. Nice
Through the back door, like you
countryside,
said, yeah.
countryside and hills.
Saw some good
and
scenery?
It was just wonderful.
Okay.
So that's
how long did that
kind of
one
what-
take you?
Took me probably about 14 minutes.
So double your time, but
I enjoyed
enjoyable.
it immensely. I enjoyed it more than my golfing.
Speaking of which, how did your golf game turn out with a 5-year hiatus between rounds?
It has not. You know, I thought it would have
Your
an
handicap
effect.
is exact,
I thought
isn't
it
it?
would have an effect on my game, not playing all that time. But I got to be honest with you, buddy. I don't think I've missed a beat. I think my game is as good.
Did you
Yes,
miss a stroke? Did you have any whiffs? Did you say like, oh, I missed the ball completely, or no?
Of course I have. That's what I mean. I
Missed
didn't
the
miss
ball?
a beat.
No. Okay.
I did that all day. What are you talking about?
I'm not
You
talking
could
slice.
not.
I'm not talking about
if
cuffing
you-
it off to the right
if
there.
If you had a video of my last game 5 years ago and put it up on the screen beside yesterday, you'd be hard pressed to notice a difference.
Notice a difference.
So,
you're
I was
consistent
pleased.
as hell, right?
Oh my
That's what you're
God! The
saying.
guys I was with, they couldn't believe it. They said, "Really?"
You haven't played in 5 years and you look like that? Really? I love it.
God help me.
love
I don't know why I do it, but every once in a while.
Hey, you got sometimes it's
Every
a
once in a
business
while.
thing, right? Nowadays in
Yeah.
this world, not nowadays, it's always been that way. Is that especially sales and stuff like that? You get the group of guys on the course because it's very easy to get them there. A 14-minute drive at the longest, and then you get your buddies together. You do your round. You have a couple of drinks. You have a cigar, and woohoo! Okay, boys, we'll see you later.
How easily we are distracted. We're talking about the store. The hell we get a shop.fishingcanada.com or go to fishingcanada.com and
maybe we'll put a video up of Angelo's golf swing. How's that on fishingcanada.com?
Oh, wow.
I like that.
Actually, that's what we should do is I know we've got video,
Let's go to the
old
driving
video
range.
of me golfing. I know there's some
Probably,
video.
yeah.
We do. We should capture a new version of it and see.
We'll go up to the range, bring the little Osmo.
I love it. I love it. Done. Consider it done.
Beauty.
Anyways, if you go to our store, you'll see all kinds of goodies like the ones that Dean put up behind us just now.
I like that.
And
I like that.
they are these are the
Sender
latest.
Vitreous.
there's a new unveiling coming up in a few weeks.
Another one.
I can't even talk about it.
Who designed it?
I can't say.
Okay, you can say who designed it.
No, I can't even do that.
Did you design it? How about the yes or no?
I cannot confirm or deny.
Can we do 20
that
questions?
comment.
20 questions right now? Yes or no answer?
But there is a new design coming up very shortly.
Okay.
So keep an eye on it. Listener feedback, Mr. Bowman. You were not here for this episode.
I did 20 questions this morning with the wife. I woke up. This is gonna freak you out of all people the most.
right.
So you know me. I have
I'm
music
listening.
in my head all the time. Right? It's always in my head. Like I can't get music out of my head. I just it's the way it is. I woke up this morning. I said, Lisa, I gotta play 20 questions because I want you to guess who it was. She said, well, she couldn't. She hates that game. So whatever. I had Madonna in my head when I woke up this morning.
Whoa.
Material Girl,
Whoa.
Madonna, and it was there for until I put Pantera in there. I got erased it with some Pantera, but I had that in my head.
Where the hell that come
I
from?
have no idea. That's one of life's most embarrassing moments for me.
I would not have shared that with
metalhead.
my wife. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, I got to tell Lisa because she laughs her ass
Oh,
off.
my
You're such an
God.
idiot.
Madonna.
Yeah. Woke up and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. So then I went in with a I had to get rid of it. So I used Pantera.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us, Mr. Bowman. I'm sure the audience appreciates it. I know Bova appreciates it. I know Dean.
Bova's a Madonna fan.
Yeah.
He's a big Madonna fan.
That would not surprise me in the least, but
Big time.
nonetheless. Listener feedback.
Yes.
Now, you were not here for this episode,
Correct.
but the listener feedback on this episode is about episode 129, which is the episode where you were absent.
I hear it's blowing up. The feedback is blowing up.
And no coincidence that you weren't here. That it's been
always
the
any
most
TV
talked
show that
about.
I'm on, or any TV show that I'm not on, rates way up there. We get 1,500,000 viewers. Then when I'm on one, we get 13,000.
Because there's so very few that you're not on, that you don't manage to get on, that when the
I don't
audience
think-
doesn't
to
see
be
you
honest-
there, they say, oh my God,
They
oh
don't-
my God, call Bill, call Frank, let him know he's not on.
Pete's not there. All right, thank God.
And then they tune in to
that
see.
asshole off of
Well,
there.
no, they tune in. Everybody tunes in to see that he's really not there. That's how uncommon it is. So,
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
listener, that's a great question. We should maybe ask the audience at some point. I think it's a fascinating
know.
question. Listener
Why they
feedback.
hate me so much. That's what it is. Why do you hate Pete Bowman so much? That'd be a great question of the week.
Listener feedback, episode 129, was an episode that I did
Without me.
without you, but it was about the Gulf of St. Lawrence striped bass quota
Yeah.
change.
I did hear about all this. That's
Oh
for
my
sure.
God! Took
Before
place.
and after.
If you haven't listened or watched that episode of ODJ, I think you need to go check it out. It's episode 129, and we talked about the new regulations that were being put in place as of July 15th of this year, whereby the quota for striped bass in the Gulf of St. Lawrence, which pretty much means everywhere where striped bass are committed to Canada, is now tripled. The Federal Fisheries Minister Diane Lebautier announced that she was going to more than triple the southern Gulf of St. Lawrence indigenous commercial striped bass fishery, which
Isn't that wonderful?
We had an expert on the program to help us with some of the questions, and some of the answers were pretty
Scary.
out there.
Yeah.
We won't get into the numbers. You need to go back and listen to that.
Yeah.
But the feedback on today's program,
Blowing up like crazy, right?
Yes.
All our socials, everything about this
Facebook.
thing of Facebook is just like we're looking at it just lighting up. So it's crazy.
Now, are these all people from, that have got skin in the game, Dean?
It seems like it. Almost all of them.
They're all from the east coast of Canada?
Yeah.
Or eastern part of Canada?
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
like
nobody really gives
and
a fiddler's, what, if they're from...
That's a great saying, by the way. I used to use that one all the time.
If they're from the, left side of the country.
Yeah, no,
right. So that'd be both the striper people, the salmon people,
pros
the
and cons.
lobster people, everybody. There's everybody getting involved with that or have a stake in it.
So the pros and cons, we pulled out a pro and we pulled out a con, I guess. Is this the way this works, Dean?
Yeah, because there's a lot of people on both sides, but there's like hundreds of these. So I just pulled out 2 that kind of represent what each side is saying.
So the pro striper side, they're saying... and we don't know, we're not saying who this is.
It says at the end if we want to say it.
Okay. That's from Mike Rouse, 6004. At Mike Rouse, 0. Yeah, I guess he doesn't mind putting his name
he put his name on it,
he says they almost wiped out the bass fishery, in fact, down to 5,000 fish years ago. And now they want to do it again and line their pockets with the profits. That is one of the problems. The other part is pandering to the deep pockets of the Atlantic Salmon Federation, who blame stripers for everything, even though when the fish populations were low, the salmon still had no decent resurgence numbers. So what was the scapegoat in those days? Well, it was weather, water temperature, spraying chemicals. We've done shows on that before.
They did a good one there.
On the woodlands, or the offshore fishing, ? He goes on to say, every angler in New Brunswick would be overjoyed to have a strong resurgence of
That's
salmon.
A great point.
Of course they would. Who wouldn't? Is there anybody who would say,
Absolutely.
I don't want it?
Exactly.
No. But the reality is, he goes on to say, that they have thrown millions of dollars in government grants for studies and tagging programs for decades with no real result on improving numbers. So why are they allowing this to happen? Once again, Mike Rouse 6004. Thank you for sending that. You could almost take that comment and take it out of Atlantic Canada and bring it into Ontario, where we have spent millions of dollars working on bringing back the freshwater Atlantic salmon.
I wonder how much money in total.
In Atlantic salmon? Oh, my God.
Atlantic salmon, yeah. From Great Lakes to right up to the East Coast. Can you imagine
Guaranteed
that number?
More than we spend on the total fisheries program.
And hunting, probably.
And hunting, too.
I'll bet you. It sounds like it.
And what do we got?
A couple of salmon here and there, I think.
How about the pro salmon comment?
Pro salmon, quote, this is from Sherman Clark. He says, LOL, the question is, can our trout and salmon survive these eating machines? Wow, so the stripers are eating machines.
Well.
Folks used to blame a lot of other factors for the decline in the salmon. Little did we know these monsters and the chain pickerel were chowing down on all sea-run fish. On all sea-run fish. Okie dokie there, Sherman. All of them. So every one of them has gotten killed by a striper or a pickerel.
Yeah, I don't know what else sea run would be involved in this discussion, because
is there not sea run brookies out there somewhere on the East Coast or browns?
Yeah, but not
in striper water.
Not in striper water. Not in the Gulf.
Yeah. Anyway, so I mean, it's a pretty bold statement to say chowing down on all sea run fish. Sherman knows something we don't know, I guess.
Yeah, and it's easy for us to gang up and pick sides here because, let's be honest about it, neither you or I are big into Atlantic salmon fishing.
But we don't have anything against that fish or fishing at all.
But that's why I'm just saying it would seem easy for us to gang up.
Of course.
And certainly my background and history on the freshwater Atlantic salmon in Lake Ontario projects would tell you that, because it seems like I'm picking on those. And
yeah, but you're not. What I can read through this, I know you're not picking on the salmon or the salmon fishing or anything like that. It's the monies and the efforts put forward and monies that is not really spent properly.
In the case of the freshwater Atlantic salmon, what I'm pissed off at and what I've been screaming for the last 20 years at is the fact that I love fishing, period. And I was young enough to be able to enjoy the glory days of
Chinook
the
salmon.
other salmon fishery in the Great Lakes, Chinook salmon and coho. and browns. Not a salmon, but a brown. And all I got pissed off is, why are we spending all this money with the Atlantics, which clearly our ROI on the Atlantic is embarrassing, right? So why are we doing that when we had and could have again a wonderful Chinook fishery in the Great Lakes with a little bit, never mind the millions of dollars that we're throwing at the Atlantic salmon, just a portion of that money thrown at the other salmon species would be great for sport fishing, because that's, at the end of the day, that's my interest.
I tell you, salmon are pretty revered, obviously, right? When you see these fights against and fight for and all that. Dino, you're a fly fisherman. What do you hear in the world of Atlantic salmon for both Ontario, East Coast? Anything do you hear?
It's still considered prestigious out east, but all the stories you hear are from, the 70s.
Right.
Like, there's no recent stories. People don't travel up here for them anymore because you go out and get skunked or you hook one. Like, they're just a species that I think are being kind of left behind, which is too bad, because fly fishing for stripers, I got one this year, and they fight like nothing else. Like, that could be a massive draw.
Huge.
Yeah.
Like, it is so fun. Yeah. And there's a whole area that we weren't allowed in because it's fly fish only, so those guys could have it all to themselves.
Yeah.
Like, it's a really cool opportunity.
And I don't even care when the Atlantic salmon was in the 70s, when it was going strong. I don't think that could match the opportunity that you have hooking into in terms of pound and size. I don't think it would match the opportunities that are available with striped bass for a fly angler. Today.
It's really cool.
But we got to look at it this way too. It's like the purists, the salmon people. Will they ever tap out to the salmon and move into the stripers? And the reason I would say that is because you and I, or me, I'll just use me, but I think you're with me there. 30 years ago, common carp were shit in my mind. Get them out of every lake. I can't stand them. Now I love fishing for common carp. People can change if that's
Open your minds.
Yeah. I think the diehards will always be that way, like the salmon diehards are never. But I was getting texts from buddies out in BC who I do steelheading with, and they were asking me about the East Coast stripers. So those guys are as purist as it gets, and they were interested
because they like getting their string pulled, right? They like going out and having fun. So, right on.
Anyways, I will never solve this issue, but
go back, check that episode on either YouTube, on our Fishing Canada YouTube channel, right, Dean, or on a podcast network.
We had an expert on the program on that episode, that a scientist who says that if things go the way it looks like they're going to go with this new increase, we could see the total decline of the striped bass fishing on the Miramichi within 3 years.
Yeah, less than that 5,000 fish or whatever. Done.
Wow.
Gandhi.
Wow, that's scary. Now that is frightening. That is frightening.
And a shame, but whatever.
Anyways, moving along. Podcast Network highlights Outdoor Journal Radio Podcast Network. For those of you who are not aware of it, yes, it is a network, not just one show. We are not a one-trick pony. Our pony can do 6 tricks, not just one. One of those tricks is called Eating Wild, and I got to tell you, and I got to tell whoever is willing to hear me.
Tell Nick.
Oh. Well, Nick, I can't tell Nick because he's gone. He's Ugano Ringi.
Okay.
The prince's dog. The prince, like the prince, not princess. The prince's
dog.
Dog. Because my dad had this saying, and for years I didn't know what the hell he was talking about.
His dad was the best guy you've ever met.
I had no idea what he was talking about. And then finally, as I started growing up, because he used to use that, honestly, Mom, sorry for this, God bless you, but he used to use it with my mom all the time. Because what would happen?
It's already funny.
Every Sunday, he'd start up the 52 Chevy, and we'd go to usually Butely.
Rice Lake. Yeah.
Butely, Ontario, and he would take us out, let us go out and do some fishing there, as a family thing, right? He worked the other 6 days, so it was Sunday only. And it was a normal thing. We knew that, we were leaving Sunday morning to head up there. So everything would be ready to go. Cars, because you had to warm cars up back then. You had to start them up and let them run.
Even in the
for a little
summertime.
bit. Oh,
Yeah.
especially in the summertime.
Yeah.
So he's got the car started up. Everything's in the car. The picanica basket with the sandwich and all that stuff in it. We're all ready to go, and we're all loaded. We're in the car. Reno and I are there. Dad's there behind the wheel waiting. Mom was just about in the car, and every single time she'd say,
Oh, just a minute.
I have to go pee."
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So he'd say, "Huwag no bringe, huwag no bringe." So for years, I had no idea what that was. And as I got older, I finally asked him, I said, "Dad, what is that?" And
You knew literally what
I
it
knew
was.
what the words
You
meant, but
just
I
didn't know
I
it.
don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And it means the prince's dog. And because the prince, whoever the prince was, whatever prince he was referring to, obviously some Italian noble person, that liked hunting with dogs on horseback, with the dog thing. And his favorite dog, his personal dog, the prince's dog, every time that the horn would go off to go hunting, he'd have to have a shit. And so all the hunters and all the other dogs and the horses had to wait for the prince's dog to have a crap.
Because that horn was a trigger for his.
That was it. As soon as he
pooper.
go, whoa, yeah, went sniffing around.
my
He had to go
God.
to dump. So that's what that means.
That's a great
Ugano
story.
bringe.
That's a prince's dog. Nick is the prince's dog.
He is.
He is.
God
for
love
sure.
him. Anyways,
Anyway.
as I was saying, I want to tell you, I want to tell anybody who will listen, this new video that I believe is going up or is up,
It's up
Dean?
now,
It's
right?
up, yep.
It's
Yep.
up. It could be the best thing I've ever seen in the outdoor food preparation business.
Wow.
And I've seen a lot of them.
You've seen a lot.
I'm telling you. This could be, and I know maybe I'm a little biased, but because we had a hand in it. But I got to tell you, Antonio, on camera with this subject matter and in this video is nothing short of award winning. And if you're into venison sliders of any form or shape, you must see this video.
Tells you a lot of these little tricks and do's and don'ts. But most people do this. You don't need to do that. I love the way he gets just right to the point.
I did everything he said not to, like how I normally do it.
Exactly.
Everything he said not to do, I was
Exactly.
doing before.
He says most people do this, but you don't
Yeah.
need. Don't do that. It's bullshit. You know what I mean? And now Dean does it the other
Anyways,
Antonio's way, and it's perfect.
It's up now on Fishing Canada YouTube channel. It is
How to make
must.
venison sliders is what it's called. So
It is a must.
really good little watch.
Speaking of cooking, Mr. Bowman, as I mentioned at the top of the show, a new partner on this program is Sail, the outdoor specialist.
Woo!
That's right.
Happy to have him
Sail
back.
is your home for all outdoor cooking essentials, including Martin portable grills.
Yeah.
I'm curious to find out what that looks like, because I'll be honest with you, I've never used a Martin portable grill, but I did take the liberty of checking them out, reviews and stuff before I came on, and everybody raves about them, so I got to go and check it out myself. You can also check out water heaters and even ovens at Sail. Head to your local Sail store today or bookmark their website at sail.ca for up to 50% off.
As I told you, clearance. Hit that clearance thing. My God, you won't believe the deals they have.
50% off on selected items. Check them out. Sail.ca.
Come on now.
In the news, Angela, you're going to love this story. Texas dad, well, you're not going to love it, but you are. Texas dad, 66 years old, died horrific flesh-eating bacteria death.
I'm not laughing at that, by the way.
He's going to
If you
be
think-
laughing at this right
if
here.
you think I'm very morbid at this point, no. This is
the part Angela will laugh at. After going fishing while wearing flip-flops. So
before you continue with the story, I just want to tell you what the inside part of this is. For years, I have frowned on anybody, not just Mr. Bowman, although Mr. Bowman is the only one who occasionally violates this particular Fishing Canada law, because he's a bit of a rebel, and he would violate it just because.
just to violate.
Just to
If I
violate.
hated something, I'd still violate.
Exactly.
Right? That's what you're saying?
And that is wearing flip-flops on the deck of a fishing boat like FNC1 or the Princecraft Adventure that we use today that is laden laden with sharp little pointy little hooks. And I'm not talking a couple. I'm saying it at any given time on the deck of one of our boats. I did the math the other day, by the way, just so that you want to know. I took an average. We have over 120 exposed points of
Holy
hooks.
crap, that's a lot of hooks.
120 exposed points. And extremely sharp, because God forbid should we use any dull hooks, right? They're extremely, and they're just everywhere on our deck. And then I see this clown coming onto the boat with these little flip-flops, and I'm thinking, are you blind to all of this? That's what the behind the story
But they're
is.
so comfortable.
The backstory.
They really are comfy, I have to say.
I like to go naked when I fish.
Oh, my.
But there's some things that you just don't do.
A hook in your wiener, though. You got to watch that.
That's not likely to happen, by the way.
Don't be doing that kind of stuff. You know
In
what I mean?
other parts, but
hey,
not
we
there.
did that whole shoot there with all those hooks, and guess what? I got one in the arm. Didn't get it. Remember, I got one in the arm, not my foot at all.
Anyway, sorry. But now you'll better understand why I'm laughing at this very sad story.
A man named Randy Bunch, 66 years old, passed away within a week of becoming infected. His family said eventually succumbing on June 8th. So a few days before, the seasoned fisherman retrieved a crab trap in his native Freeport in the shallow waters off a boat ramp he frequented for years. He did so in his flip-flops. So he obviously wanted to stay off the bottom, but he wanted to keep his feet comfortable, I'm assuming. His grieving daughter said on Monday, a decision that proved fatal as he already had a small nick in his foot. So he'd already had some kind of an open laceration or something like that. That scrape quickly became infected with a deadly flesh-eating bacteria called Vibrio. Vibrio?
Yeah, Vibrio. I think
That
that's
is commonly found in the Gulf. Same thing that makes you sick from eating undercooked seafood. Also can get in your skin when in warm seawater.
Now, do you
I don't know how that
remember
works.
I had a similar, fortunately, in my case, it wasn't fatal, but I had that kind of same thing happen to me.
I saw the pictures of that. It was
Did
the
you see the
grossest thing I've ever
pictures?
seen.
I should have sent them
Oh
to you
my
so you
God.
could put them up on the screen.
No one needs to know. I just
I had, it
We
was,
can do that in post. He can put that up in
Yeah,
post.
I don't want to have to look at them. I have to do that.
and that was some kind of bacteria that had gotten onto my foot. And so I can tell you from personal experience that for whatever reason, when you get bacteria into your feet, it's far worse than if you get it in other parts of your
Not
body.
weird, eh?
Yeah, I don't know why, but it's pretty gross. It is pretty gross. So
It traveled with you pretty quick, didn't it? Because the pictures you showed me like a day by day.
Yeah.
Started like
It
at the
was-
bottom and it was like all the way up your leg.
it was nothing. First couple of days, it was nothing. I said, oh, I got, then, I scratched the hell out of it, which is probably another part that, wasn't smart. But anyways, yeah, it crawled from my foot up my ankle. And then if I didn't get into the antibiotics, two separate series of antibiotics, I might have passed away. That's how bad it is.
So was it the same thing? Was it the
I don't know.
Vibrio?
All they told me is that I got very lucky. I got very lucky and was able to stop.
Were you wearing flip-flops? No, you weren't, were you? Hey, no, you weren't, were you? See, it's not flip-flops that are the culprit here, my friend.
And not only that, but they make you look so ridiculously,
Comfortable,
no,
relaxed.
no. It's just so
Nobody even sees your feet.
unbecoming.
There's a rule that
I
you see
see
your
it.
feet. Like Bova shoots.
I-
you just
Bova
think it's
sees it.
Head and shoulders and all that stuff.
Bova and I both see it, and we look at it and we say, "It's like, what is going on here?"
It's very comfy.
So now we have to also add a third element. Now we're concerned for your health as well.
I just won't step in the water. I'll stay out of the water.
Well, you'll be in the water, all right. Anyways, carry on. Sorry.
When he first started to feel ill, before the infection became visibly apparent, Pendergraft recalled first thinking her father was suffering from a heart attack. Doctors were not immediately able to find anything wrong. The following morning, after being released, he had completely changed, Bunch recalled. He had a 104 fever. He was lethargic, talking all disoriented, not making any sense. Less than 12 hours from walking and talking and working, still doing things that he loved to do. He was on a ventilator and in the ICU, and we're having to make life-changing decisions. Extremely emotional, Pendergraft said. So
That's terrible.
that's crazy. That's crazy. It is a fluke of all flukes, but it did happen.
It does
obviously,
happen,
right? It
right?
did and does happen.
And because you don't think of where you're walking, your feet are the that's probably why
What if
it's
he
so.
would have had if you'd had a Band-Aid even over top of that cut, would that have helped? You know what I mean? Like a waterproof Band-Aid. I doubt it, but maybe. I don't know.
A fascinating story. If you think a man's death is fascinating, but it is fascinating only because we all spend a lot of time in the outdoors.
It's a nice redfish
waters.
right there, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
That's a beauty.
Fan question of the week.
Who's this brought to you by, Ann?
Brought to you by fishfindermounts.com.
Give me a hell yeah.
Yes,
I'll give you
sir.
a hell yeah, for
Let me
sure.
say that again. Fishfindermounts.com.
Give me a hell yeah.
Let Steve say that again, too.
Give me a hell yeah.
And again, just keep going, Stevie. Take those whole podcast
They've
over.
made our lives so much easier and so much more fun, too.
Yeah, we're having fun with the product, without a doubt. And
Check them out. Check them out. Go to
I'm going to use them next week, too.
fishfindermounts.com.
Going to use it again next week.
Yes, sir.
Coming up.
Coming up. baby.
Hopefully on the big boat and on a little boat.
Oh, my God. So they're the new segment sponsor of Fan Question of the Week. By the way, this one was submitted by a real lady. Ha, ha, ha. Did you see that? A real lady.
With the emphasis on REEL.
Underscore
Real lady.
via Instagram. A real lady underscore. Is that the way you say that?
Yeah, that's how
so
you
it's
say it.
at a real lady underscore.
Yeah.
That's a little play on words, right? Versus a real lady. A real lady versus a real lady.
So she's a real lady, like
She's a real lady.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she could be a real lady too, I suppose.
But yeah, she very much
Or
could
it
be.
could be a guy calling himself a real lady.
Now that would be tricky. That'd be trickery, tomfoolery at its best. Think about that one. That would be, that's brilliant.
I don't know where we're going with that.
That's brilliant.
Submitted by a real lady underscore by via Instagram. I only say that because, Dean, they can submit it
You can submit it anywhere. Yeah.
anywhere at all. Can they write you a letter? Snail mail?
Yeah.
Is that possible?
Any way you can get a hold of me, I can get your question.
And then what happens? You have to you have a team that helps you select the weekly.
Yeah.
Do you have a whole group?
I have a whole
I'm
staff
sure.
I'm hiring.
Yeah, I'm sure
They
you
could send
do.
Dean a real letter.
They could, a
See,
real letter.
a real letter.
Yeah.
Not play on words.
Yeah.
You know.
That wouldn't be fair. I'm thinking because you dump all these into that bin, that 45-gallon
It's a bunch
drum.
of bullshit.
I think that if you did have somebody submit a letter, you could feel, like with your eyes closed, you could feel around for that letter. So that would not be fair. So I don't recommend you send a letter. Do it via one of the other vehicles.
Come on now.
It says from a real lady who we have to believe is a real lady. With all the experience in, well, we have to.
I know.
Otherwise,
We know a real lady.
I'm here ya.
I got these images.
She was on
starting
Steve's
to
podcast.
creep
She was on
into-
Dolo.
Oh, yeah, she was on Dolo, yeah.
A real lady was on
Oh,
Dolo.
right.
okay, perfect. Then now I know.
She sounded like a real
Janelle.
lady.
Because I was starting to have these dark images starting to creep into my mind, and I don't like that. With all the experiences in fishing over the years, you guys have been out there. Yeah, we have.
We've been out there.
What are some of the biggest differences from back 40 years? She's saying you're old, by the way. I don't know whether you picked up on that.
That should be a real old lady. Smarten up.
Differences from back 40 years ago to today, whether it be equipment, fish behavior, people's interest in fishing, science, etc. And what is your favorite and least favorite thing about fishing today versus 40 years ago? She's kind of hung up on that 40-year thing, isn't she?
Like that movie, The 40-Year-Old Virgin. There you
How
go.
does she even know we were around 40 years ago? That's what I want.
See, that's what she thought. You were the 40-year-old virgin. That's what she thought.
Oh my.
So
That's quite a complex question, I have to say. Let's break it down. Let's go as a
what did we have? We had a
equipment.
guest to tell us that would be a lot of baggage to unpack.
There's a lot to unpack there.
A lot to unpack there. That's our
I like
new-
that.
There's a lot
It's
to unpack
to unpack there, real lady.
Yeah.
That's good. So, whether it be equipment, fish behavior, people's interest in fishing, science, etc. So, equipment, it certainly has changed a lot. Probably in the electronics world, I would assume the most, right? I would think from 40 years ago, we were probably running flashers only. Were we back then?
No, there's papergraph.
Papergraph. Yep, you're right.
Papergraph. That was the most common
Yeah.
method.
Yeah. To now,
Papergraph.
with everything on the boat, that's
What was that
electronic
brand?
wise.
What was the brand of the papergraph? Garcia.
It was
Lawrence? No.
Eagle and Lawrence had the ones that
papergraph?
yeah, Eagle.
No.
I'm telling you, Eagle. Cytex was one. So they came out a little later, I think.
Yeah,
Maybe
that was
Cytex.
no, the green box. It was green.
Well, the little green box was Lowrance.
No,
that was a flasher.
The green. There was a paper.
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember that one.
I got to check that out. I know Lowrance was in that early in that.
Yeah,
game
they
as
did
well.
it. They did the stuff. But fish behavior, that's a good one, but I don't think it's changed. It's not certainly changed a lot. Fish are instinctive little creatures. They need to eat, they need to spawn, and they need to protect themselves. They get,
Well,
so.
I'd like to argue that just for a moment.
Go ahead.
Because I think what she's referring to, and I would certainly refer it this way, I think fish behavior has changed drastically. Drastically.
They're a little more cautious.
Exactly. Not just cautious. They're constantly evolving, meaning that baits and colors and presentations that worked 40 years ago, they slowly genetically handed down through the genes that's not a good idea to hit that, we'll call it.
But are those ones that worked 40 years ago, are they obsolete, or could you catch a fish on them now? You might be able to. If they worked back then, you could now.
We've gone full circle.
Could you go back to that dirty old paper graph versus all the live scope you got now?
No, you're right.
You couldn't do that, right?
No.
So I think that electronics is higher than fish behavior, though I do agree with you.
Yeah.
People's interest in fishing, I don't know how much that's changed or not. Our numbers, they've gone up and down. During the pandemic, people were nuts for fishing, but that's because it's all they could do, basically, right? So that was maybe back then, but I don't know about now.
I think ice fishing's probably seen the biggest
ice
uptick.
fishing. Yeah, maybe that's
people being interested in that, and
Yeah.
that's mostly technology too, because it just
Exactly.
it adds like an entertainment element.
Exactly, it makes it more fun to do, sort of thing. And
I think the advent, because we're going back 40 years, it was pre-internet. I think the advent of the internet has changed fishing drastically because we've been able to share information.
Yeah, technology would be that one, right?
That we weren't able to before, and I think it just brought in a different angler that maybe would not have come into the fishing scene were it not for the technology.
Absolutely,
called the
that's
internet.
a biggie.
So,
And then the last one she wrote down was science. I mean, science is science. They progress at a kind of a slow but steady rate, and it's always eye-opening to us. When Stephen Cook comes on here,
I was going to say,
he
if you
gives
talk to Dr. Cook, I mean, science has been there was there day one, right? They have some new tools today to help them in the science part of it. So maybe that would be.
I don't know. I think
change.
maybe equipment, or what Angela's saying, technology in the sense of the internet. That might be the biggest one, right?
I think the internet's probably the biggest.
What's your favorite and least favorite thing about fishing today? So I don't even know how to answer that one.
How do you? What's the least? Let's go least favorite.
Least favorite thing about fishing?
Least.
The wind.
The wind.
The wind.
Hey,
It's
Dino
gotten worse.
got it.
Yeah,
The
it's
wind
gotten
kicks
way
our
worse.
ass all the time, and I hate the wind. Okay, there you go. And that has changed. It never used to be this windy. It never. There's something with the
Wow.
climate.
Are you serious?
Body. Never. Look at us at Nordic Point Lodge. Even he said it never used to. But
I know now, but I'm thinking
Back in the day?
back 40 years ago, we had wind.
We should get a wind guy on.
we could get a wind guy.
Well,
I know.
Who's do you know the producer
I'm
of the
talking
show?
to myself.
Oh, okay.
in
Thank
post.
you. Maybe that would be a good
That's
program.
a biggie. That's a biggie. Because I'm sure it was never this bad.
you-
Like constant bang, bang in the face. Every day you're looking at the forecast. We got to go shooting so and so place. Oh my God. 30K steady with a 62 gust. Next day is 40. And the next day is 25. And the lowest one is 20 steady with a.
It
never
does
used to be
seem like there's more wind in our life, isn't there? That's interesting.
Dino, I like that for the least favorite. I'm going with Dean on that one. The most favorite? I don't know. That's another tough one. I love the advancement of technology. I do love that. I just think it's so much fun, and it's brought me back into the electronics game. Garmin has literally brought me back from I used to love reading a paper map and all that stuff, and then go out, and you and I, we used to go out and use our flasher or whatever, that old paper graph, and you try and figure things out like that. But now I got away from that kind of stuff, and now it's just like, oh my God, I love my guy. I got my maps here, I got this here, I got that, and I sit there, have a coffee, and just sit there and watch your stuff and say, okay, now what can I learn today?
Mine's
I love
similar,
that.
but for me, it's GPS. I think GPS has changed.
Yeah.
It's my most favorite part of fishing today is the whole GPS technology.
So cool.
That has allowed us to go back to same areas, has allowed us to track our way safely from point A to point B. All these things that we take for granted today, we didn't have. I mean,
God, no.
triangulating a spot was the best that we could do, and triangulating was, it's like saying within 100 miles. That's how bad it was. But you pick 3 spots on shore. So first of all, if you were offshore fishing, there was no triangulating going on. But if you were fortunate enough to have 3 onshore somethings, whether they were a barn or a tree or a bridge or something that you could see, and you kind of triangulate. There was even, do you remember the little triangulating gadget that came out?
No,
At
I
one
don't
point?
know that.
It was,
Really?
Yeah.
You probably sold them in Barclays, didn't
oh,
you?
yeah. You put it up and
Come on.
with one eye you're seeing here, and then you got to turn because you got to match that
No
eye.
way. I
Anyways.
love it. I love it.
Triangulating was the only way that we could get even close
yeah.
to where we wanted to be.
And then if you found your spot, if you had to drop a marker buoy, you had to make sure you drop a marker buoy so you don't lose that spot. And then you got to stay on your trolling motor all day long. If it dies, you have to have an anchor or something because the batteries were bad back then. And it was so different than nowadays, right?
And that goes back to the first part of this question from a real lady. What was your the biggest differences from 40 years back?
Yeah,
And so
that's
back
part of
to
it right there.
to equipment or technology would be the
Yeah,
big
it has to be. Yeah. Cool. We interrupt this program to bring you the much anticipated bonus code for the latest Fishing Canada giveaways. This week's code is DANCE. That's all capitals DANCE, DANCE. Just type that in the bonus code section of the contest and receive 100 free entries towards all of our current giveaways. For those of you who aren't entered yet, what are you waiting for? Head over to fishingcanada.com while you listen to the rest of this episode. Click contests and sign up for all the latest Fishing Canada giveaways. And now, back to the episode.
All right, now our special guest, as I mentioned at the top of the show, a gentleman I met, had the pleasure of meeting about, I think 5 or 6 years ago, just pre-pandemic, at ICAST, the big international fishing show in Orlando, Florida.
That's right.
He's a very good friend of our very good friends, Roland and Roland Martin, and his manager, Walt. But not only is he fascinating, but I believe he's got one of the premier products to be introduced to our industry in 100 years.
And a very practical product for
as
all
well.
of us.
Let's find out more. His name is Mike Wisecarver. He is the co-owner, CEO of WeChem Inc. And of course, the product is Booyah Clean. Hey, how you doing, Mike? Welcome to the show.
Good. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to talking with you guys today.
Well, we're looking forward to it too. This is interesting stuff. So
as I told the audience, I first met you through our friends, and they were all excited at the time because it was a new product they wanted to introduce me to, and it was this wonderful cleaning product. But that wasn't the big deal, although the cleaning part was pretty cool. The visuals I saw back then impressed the hell out of me. But the real cool part was that it had this thing called an EPA certificate that everybody covets in the cleaning industry south of the border and soon north of the border as well, may I add. So maybe you can kind of walk us through the whole process that you went through to get this thing on the market.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'll give us a little history on WeChem.
Yep.
We've been in a specialty chemical business for over 50 years. We're a licensed EPA manufacturing facility, and we make probably 90% of all of our products right here at our corporate office. What led us to find out about the EPA Safer Choice program was we do a lot of business in the Gulf of Mexico with the offshore industry, the OSVs, the offshore marine vessels, and they are regulated under the VGP, the Vessel General Permit. And 5, 6 years ago, 7, 8 years ago, they were looking to upgrade the standards on the cleaners that are used on the exterior of these boats. And so any vessel that was 51 feet or longer in length would have to comply with this in U.S. waters. So we went to work and we called the EPA and said, tell us about the new regulations for VGP. They told us that eventually they would like everybody to move to a much higher standard, which is the Safer Choice Direct Release Program. So I found that interesting. I said, well, if that's where the future is going, we need to get our company to start moving in that direction. And so that's how we started with that. And as we dug into the program, we found that it was not going to be an easy task developing a line of marine cleaners and recreational cleaners because of the stringent requirements with the program. But that's what drove us to get to the EPA program as well.
Without getting into the details and the formulation, was it as simple as taking a product that you already had, like a good cleaner that you already had, and just adding something to it to make it environmentally safe, or did you have to reformulate the whole thing?
No, with the Safer Choice program, there's inside the EPA Safer Choice program, there's one that's regulated for household cleaners. So those products will go down into a municipal treatment facility. And so they have their own set of criteria to meet. The direct release is what we focused on, outdoor cleaners, anything that bypassed a public treatment facility. So that's where we put our focus on. To answer the question, it's very hard to meet direct release standards because of the very stringent requirements that we had to meet for each individual item that goes into that product, into those products.
Wow.
Mike, is it just boat products, or is it, you said outdoor? Do you make anything for anything else, or is it all boat cleaning related?
We do have a line of automotive cleaners, RV cleaners, and the marine cleaners as well. We do working on a couple of exterior household cleaners that would meet that profile as well.
Cool.
Now, you mentioned the difficulty in formulating this stuff and getting it approved and certified. In terms of competition, how are you faring? There's got to be other companies that are at the same level as your product, Booyah Clean, I'm assuming, in the U.S.?
Yeah, so that's a great question there, Angela. We looked at the space that was really intriguing to us was the Safer Choice Direct Release Program. There are a lot of competitors or people that make household type cleaners that are in the Safer Choice program that meet the consumer market for stuff that goes through the public treatment facility. For example, there's a lot of people that have glass cleaners, a lot of people that have spray and wipe cleaners. They have a lot of laundry detergents and things of that nature that are in the Safer Choice. But when you go to the outdoor criteria for direct release, there's not a whole lot of people in that space, especially in the recreational marine market and the automotive market. They might have some all-purpose, car washes in there, but we built out a complete line. We have a non-acid instant hull cleaner. We have a boat wash. We have a boat and vehicle wash with a carnauba wax in it. We also have deck cleaners. We have all-purpose cleaner degreasers, and the list goes on and on and on. And it took us at least 7 to 8 years, like you had said early on when we first met.
Yeah.
We just had the boat wash, but now we have a complete line of products that meet that outdoor profile for direct release.
Hey, Mike, you mentioned like these big 51 plus foot boats and that. Is there a way of cleaning a boat that's still in the water, or is that a ridiculous question? I mean, do they have to pull their boats every time? Does everybody have to pull their boats, or is there a product that you can actually just wash her down in the water?
Well, within the Safer Choice Direct Release Program, the criteria is so stringent that you can actually wash your boat on land or in the water.
Wow.
And it can be discharged directly into land or water.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because of the ingredients that are used. They are all scrutinized to meet very stringent requirements. Some of the requirements that are very hard to overcome initially are the aquatic toxicity value. So we have to meet aquatic toxicity of every single ingredient of 10 milligrams per liter or greater. We also, to give you a roundabout definition of biodegradability, it's basically 28 days. It's got to be 100% gone. There can be no assimilation into aquatics or left in the environment. That has to be greater than 1,000 milligrams per liter or greater. Certain pH requirements between 2.5 and 11.5. No hazardous air pollutants, no TRI reportables, toxic reporting inventory chemicals. Can't have any PFAS chemicals in there, forever chemicals. So it is a very, very stringent program. And every single ingredient has to meet that criteria.
Okay.
And
I got to ask you something at this point, though. I mean, God bless you. I mean, you guys have figured it out. You put all this wonderful stuff in there that doesn't harm the environment, and it doesn't do this, and it meets that, and it's fantastic. But I'm interested in cleaning my boat. I need my boat clean. I mean, it's all well and good to think in terms of, protecting the environment, and we all should. But at the end of the day, the category is boat cleaner. Does your stuff clean boats? That's the bottom line.
Well, that's the good part about the EPA Safer Choice program, is that we had to, on the final step, after we built it out, it's hard to build these products out because of the, we had to meet certain price points with these raw materials. They cost more to put those formulations together, and we were very successful in doing that. But the final step was that we had to send our product and a leading competitive brand to an independent lab, and the independent EPA lab tested it side by side to make sure that product worked as good or better than the leading competitive brand.
Whoa.
And so the program wanted a program that would meet all of the certification requirements, but green products have gotten a rap in the past that they didn't work. Well, this program makes it sure hold that it does work. It will absolutely work according to label directions.
I don't know whether you saw the video or not, but I saw a video of 4 or 5 years ago of a guy cleaning his boat it was on a trailer, but it was right at the dock area. Mm-hmm. And it was a mess. And I'll tell you, this stuff just cleaned that grime mark off the hull of the boat like crazy. That's why I'm asking the question.
I wanted to ask Mike, and I want everybody here listening, this is a big one, is that even in our beautiful, clean Canadian lakes, there's a lot of our lakes, you go up north a little bit, that tea-colored water, you pull your boat out of there, and it has that stain on the side of your boat. And when you try and wash that stain off, I don't care what you're using, you can't wash it off with soap and water, car soap or whatever. Mike, you have a non-acidic product that takes care of that without even touching it, right? When you spray it on?
Yes, sir.
What is that? So, tell everybody about that.
So the industry as an overall, when you look at these bottom hole cleaners, or you look at these hull cleaners in particular, most of them are made with oxalic acid. Their range is about 8%. But then there's also some heavier ones that are designed to remove barnacles and things of that nature. And those are extremely hazardous ingredients. They contain sulfuric acid, they contain hydrochloric, phosphoric, various blends of acid. So we decided to take the choice or the path that we didn't want any of these type of acids in our formulations. And so that's what led us to develop the non-acid hull cleaner. It'll spray it on, it instantly removes the tannin stain. It doesn't damage any wax or ceramic coatings that are on your vessels or your boats. And the product, you can clean it on your trailer because it won't damage your galvanized or your aluminum or your painted trailer. You spray it on, it instantly takes the stain off, and you rinse it right off. So it absolutely works. It's a much safer alternative, and we're extremely proud of that. In our product line, we have 2 patents that cover the whole product line on the technology that we use with these products. We just recently filed for a 3rd patent on our salt remover.
By the way, I took the liberty of doing a bit of homework because my question my next question, I'm kind of answering it already, but was going to be the fact that we don't see that product, your product, Booyah Clean, or any of the other products you just mentioned on the shelves here in Canada, which leads me to ask the next question. Why the hell not? I mean, we are so anal up here about protecting our environment and our pristine areas and our wilderness.
So
you would
true.
think that
They would
be
welcome a product like
exactly
that for
so
that reason.
I did a bit of homework, and the agency that is the equivalent of the EPA south of the border is the ECCC, which is the Environment and Climate Change Canada. And I understand that they work in concert, hand in hand, with the EPA in the U.S. So I think that somebody needs to talk to somebody, because we need this product in Canada, probably more so here than anywhere else in the world, because of the fact that we've got so much water. It's hard to avoid having a chemical spill over somehow, whether it's etching through the earth or whether it's just direct into the water. It's so difficult not to make contact with water with cleaning chemicals and solutions. I think this is almost a must.
Absolutely.
I don't know what you, I know you're busy doing your thing in the U.S., but we need to get this stuff up here, man. I'll tell you. Are Canadians, is there a way that a Canadian can buy this stuff now? Maybe, do you have an
Online
outlet,
service or
online,
something?
someplace that they can get it? And is it legal for it to be shipped across the border if the EPA and the ECCC have not come up with some sort of an agreement? Lots there to unbundle for you, buddy.
Yeah. So that's all good information that we need to address, right? So I think what's happening is that the consumer today is much more educated and has a lot more information at their fingertips. And so people are now wanting to know why cancer rates are so high, why autism is such a problem. And so it comes down to exposure, right? And so as we're looking to deal with climate change, we also have to look at the issues with clean water. And clean water is extremely valuable because we can't live without water. And so when you look at public treatment facilities today and things of that nature, what you see is they process and they take all the suspended solids out of the water and things of that nature. But whether there's chemicals that are still in there that don't break down, or whether there's antibiotics that somebody had used, or different types of medicines, that's all recirculating back into the waterways. And we do know that that's having an impact on the aquatics and also on human health. Now, to answer your question about going to Canada, we have had a lot of people request our product, and we are working diligently to get to Canada. We have reached out to people that are distributors in Canada. But before we actually go there, we need to make sure that that we work with the ministries up there and some of the provinces to make sure that this is going to be acceptable to them going forward. And what I mean by that is, if you look at a competitive brand that you guys are using up there, I did some research and I've seen some of the products that we're using. All of these boat washers and hull cleaners and things of that nature, what they say is use this product 2 to 4 ounces per gallon, or spray on the surface, let it react, wipe it, rinse it with water. Well, our products, we go a step further. We say, give you the application for the use of the product, but we also say that it is safe to rinse directly on land and in waters. And that's because we are certified by the EPA. So we want to work with the Canadian officials to make sure that before we bring the product in there, that will be acceptable to them with that label, with the requirements on the label.
So are you saying that the products that we're using now, let's make an assumption here that the products that are available in Canada do not have this EPA certification? Are you saying that every time that we do wash our boats, if it happens to be even on land, but if it happens to be near a body of water, that in fact we could be damaging the environment? each time?
Absolutely. They're the leading competitive brands that we've seen, that we've gone up against. To give you an example, their boat washes. People make different boat washes. They make them where they have an orange smell to them, a pine smell, whatever.
Right.
We researched out and pulled up their safety data sheets, and all their safety data sheets that list the principal hazardous ingredients that are hazardous according to OSHA, which regulates the human exposure here in the United States. But what we found is that when you look at the aquatic toxicity on the SDS sheets, there was 9 aquatic hazardous toxicity ratings on these boat washes that are being used in Canada and throughout the United States.
That's scary.
It should be a no-brainer. It should be a no-brainer to bring something like this in. Then you would think that,
Exactly.
like the way Ange was saying, the way Canadians and Canada is so stringent and anal about all this stuff, and moving forward, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. This should be a no-brainer. It should be just hands down.
That's right. And there's also a leading competitor out there that has a deck wash and a engine flush that has forever chemicals in it, PFAS chemicals in there.
Wow.
And so they proudly put it on their label, contains polytetrafluoroethylene. So the industry's got to change. You know, we got ahead of it. Wow. We think that we're in the right space right now. Our business is on fire in the United States. We are taking market share from all these other brands that have these aquatic toxicity issues and biodegradable issues. And so we feel really good about what we're doing to protect the environment.
Wow, good for you guys.
Mike, if we can be any help to you at all, obviously you've got our interests. I think products like this.
I think I'd love to try it. I would love to use it.
For sure.
I really
for
would.
sure.
And by the way, before we sign off, the people that are listening, a lot of times, and Ange and I are in this group, and I think a lot of anglers in Canada are in this group, is that we trailer our boats home, we put it in the driveway, and you wash it. Well, you know what? When you're washing your boat in your driveway and all that water is flowing down, it's going into the storm sewer system, which is actually going back out into the lakes. You know what I mean? So you have to keep that in mind too. And that's a big issue that people, it's just going to leach in the ground. It'll never be seen. No. It's not going to do that. It's going somewhere.
Isn't it funny how we don't even think about that?
Yeah,
right?
you never think about
that's
that.
That's a good point, because people listening now are saying, well, I don't wash my boat at the lake.
Yeah, not even close to the lake.
Why would I do anything dumb like that?
It goes right into the storm sewer system, people, so.
So I will tell you this, we're coming to Canada. We just need to make sure that we get our label requirements straightened out, with them, make sure that they're all in agreement with that. Yeah. And if they tell us not to say that on the label, we're still coming. We'll still have the Safer Choice direct release on there. People will still know that that's the safest alternative to use. And we'll just take the verbiage off to meet the requirements for the Canadian officials.
Perfect.
Mike, thank you very much for sharing this time with us today and sharing this wonderful story, this wonderful information. And as I said before, or I was saying, if we can be of any help to you at all, please reach out.
Gladly.
For the audience, if you want more information, get a hold of the product is called Booyah Clean. And I'm sure if you just look it up, they'll direct you to websites that will allow you to make the purchase if it's legal to come across the border.
I wonder if Canadians can actually put in a complaint to somewhere and say, hey, we want this stuff here. I don't know.
Probably.
They probably could do that. Maybe send them emails to Mike and the company, and they will forward it on for sure with some backing.
God only knows we complain about enough things.
Oh, my God.
It would be nice if we complained about something that's good
makes
for
sense,
us for
right?
change.
Yeah.
Mike, thank you very much once again. We'd like to get you back on the program, especially when you start introducing the stuff into Canada.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get a little more into detail about the various products and whatnot.
We would love to do that, and we are coming.
All right.
Perfect.
We're excited about coming to Canada.
Awesome, buddy.
All right, buddy. We look forward to it. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you all very much.
Wow. That is,
I like it.
The fact
we are
that
coming here.
The products that we're using right now have
toxicities,
chemical in them that are not even legal to be released into the environment.
That's insane.
That's the scary part.
That's insane.
So how the hell is that?
And yet they won't let Booyah in.
Well,
yet.
no, that's not the case. I just don't think they've actually even thought about coming into Canada. I mean,
I think there's a good market for them. I mean, maybe I might not be the U.S. market, but I'll tell you what, there's a good chunk of people that own and clean their boats, right?
Well, I was encouraged when I went and did this bit of research is that we do have a department that is equivalent to the EPA in the U.S. So it's not like they have to do any heavy lifting and researching to find out who to talk to. It's called the ECCC.
Right.
And they work in concert with the EPA and also with the Mexican version of the EPA, because the three countries, it's a trilateral agreement. And
Right
the
on.
three countries
Makes sense. North America, basically. So,
kind of use the EPA as a guideline as to what they should do in their own respective countries. So this should be a no-brainer for Mike, and I'm looking forward to getting the stuff up here so we can. That spray, I've seen the video of that spray that you just spray,
it's awesome.
and that line of
It just goes
grime
away. And you can't get that off when you try to scrub it off with anything. You'd have to use an SOS pad, and I think you still couldn't do it, and you'd scratch the hell out of your boat. You know what I mean?
Hey, maybe we can.
And I like that it doesn't take your wax off or your ceramic off and all that stuff. But go ahead, maybe.
And they also have a version for aluminum. By the
Yes,
way.
guy.
So that's
We need
kinda
that for sure.
Come on now.
For sure.
But I think maybe what we should do, never even thought of this while he was on, but maybe we should see if we can put it on fishingcanada.com on the store.
My.
And we can sell it on the
Sell
store.
it through the store. Hey, we could be Mike's first retailer.
That's a great idea. Glad you thought of that.
Yeah, buddy, I'm here for you.
That are it, folks. Another wonderful episode of Outdoor Journal Radio, the podcast. Thank you for joining us on behalf of the entire team. Vova over there, Nick over there, and Dean over there.
Come on now.
He's Pete. I'm Ange. Thanks for joining us. Talk to you soon.